Bills Mafia, I need your help. Nic Roholff, the host of Dolphins Today, our friend of me here at Chat Sports, he was telling me the other day that he doesn't think we can get 200 likes on a video. And I said, Rolly, first off, you're a fraud. Secondly, I know Bills Mafia can deliver. So why don't you prove Rolly wrong and like today's video, stick it to the fans, and let them know that the Bills have the best fans in the AFC East. Hit that like button. We'll get started with today's show. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us here on Bills Breakdown. We have the latest from Bills Mandatory Minicamp as we're going to go over the top headlines that you need to know from Minicamp there in upstate New York. And I got to tell you, of what we're talking about today, there's some fascinating stuff going on with this Buffalo Bills team right now. Coming off that AFC Championship game appearance, this team looking to take that next step. And so far, from what we've seen over the last few weeks, it's been pretty positive for the Buffalo Bills for the most part, including the biggest story this offseason, James Cook and his contract situation. We wondered, with Cook wanting a new deal, would he even show up to mandatory minicamp? How much would James Cook be involved? But the update that we got from Brandon Beane, the general manager of the Buffalo Bills, was that Cook will be ready to go when it comes time, when the Buffalo Bills need him, that they will have him on the football field. And good news for Bills fans, Cook was a full participant at minicamp this past week. He was there every single day, was not holding out or holding in either one. He put the contract stuff aside, and he was there. And according to Brandon Beane, they feel pretty optimistic about where things are at when it comes to this contract situation. He said, I don't know, man. We'll see when camp comes around. I believe Jimbo will be ready to roll whether there's a deal or not. And I got to say, I like hearing that from Beane and the confidence. I think that is big, that James Cook is putting the team ahead of himself, that he's being a team player. And honestly speaking, I don't know the full details of what's going on behind the scenes in the contract negotiations. None of us do for certain. But the fact that they're not going to let that be a distraction, to me, that's ultimately a good sign for Buffalo, that not only will they have Cook there, but they can likely get a deal done sooner than later, that he wants to be there, that he's not letting this become a distraction. I think that's all a good thing for the Buffalo Bills. Prediction time. Weigh in on our pinned comment today. Will the Bills get a deal done with James Cook? You got two options here. Type Y for yes, in for no. Weigh in the comment section. You might get an ad break while the ad's playing. Get your votes in and let us know what you think. Up next, number 2 on what you need to know from mandatory minicamp. There is optimism about tight end Dalton Kincaid. Kincaid, I think, is a very good tight end. And I know that the numbers haven't necessarily reflected his talent level that he brings, especially having to share things with Dawson Knox and all that. But we saw him deal with the injuries last year, and he wasn't his typical self. But when you talk to people within the building and the reports that are coming out from mandatory minicamp, they feel like that Dalton Kincaid can get back on track, that he can play a significant role within this Bills offense in 2025. Here's more from The Athletic and their reporting. Now with a clean bill of health, Beane remarked that Kincaid has been working increasingly hard throughout the offseason, spending much of his time in Buffalo. One of the areas the GM said they wanted to see Kincaid grow was to get stronger, to which Beane said Thursday that the tight end has added both strength and bulk to his frame in the offseason. And I think because the talent level is there and because he is fully healthy, not having that set him back, there is no reason why Dalton Kincaid cannot be a big piece to the puzzle for this Buffalo Bills team. And having those two tight ends there, and the receiving core was better than I think most people anticipated in 2024 as well. And, of course, they're bringing guys back and all that. I think that you open up this offense, Bill, attack in different ways. And one thing that we saw with the Buffalo Bills in 2024, similar to what happened with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs over the last few years, is that teams have started to play that three-high safety look and tried to take the top away where the passing game cannot be exploited with Josh Allen's arm strength. And when teams are going to do that, then you got to rely on the middle of the field and the short passing game. And that's where Dalton Kincaid could come in and really help things out and exploit a defense there. And I think that they should be able to take advantage of that and get the most out of him in that sense. Do you believe in Dalton Kincaid? You got two options here. Type B for believe, D for don't. Weigh in on this question. Be honest with me and tell me what you think. Folks, want to make sure you're subscribed to Bills Breakdown for the latest happenings on your Buffalo Bills all offseason long. As mandatory minicamp concludes, we'll be shifting gears and counting down towards Bills training camp here on the channel. We'll bring you news and rumors segments. We'll be talking everything you need to know throughout the next several weeks. And it's real simple, folks. If you want more videos in the channel, we got to get more subscribers. Subscribe now for free. Let's get at least 20 subs off today's video. Turn on notifications. That way, whenever there's breaking news, somebody, maybe me, maybe somebody else, will bring you a video as quick as we can here on the channel. Subscribe now for free. YouTube.com/BillsNews to subscribe now. You'll be glad you did. Let's now talk about Tre'Davious White at the corner position. And one of the topics of discussion in minicamp and really throughout the spring was the struggles that White had time and time again, as it was just not his time. And you think about with the recent draft pick of Maxwell Harrison out of Kentucky, it makes you wonder, does that make things not look too good for White when it comes to playing time, and if his role is going to get reduced? More from The Athletic in their reporting. The main concern over White's game was similar to what they had late last year with Rasul Douglas. White's ability to turn and run with receivers isn't what it used to be, leading to some real opportunities with Bills pass catchers throughout the spring practices. White is still quite prolific in zone coverages the Bills generally employ, but if those struggles continue throughout the summer, the concern is about how things will look when plays break down and White has to man up against a receiver or when the team calls man coverage ahead of the snap. It's not to say that White can't get himself back to a place, as it would be unwise to write him off after only 5 viewed practices in the spring. It is just something worth monitoring once the Bills return to the field in late July. You know, I'll say this. That doesn't sound great, and that doesn't make you feel good that White isn't performing that well, but it is a big opportunity for Harrison, and Harrison is your future, and we'll see if he can capitalize on that. Obviously, you would like everybody to be, step up and do a good job, but if Harrison can take advantage of this and have a significant role, then maybe this thing's going to work itself out as far as that goes. Thanks for joining us here on this edition of Bills Breakdown. For continuing Bills coverage, subscribe, like the video if you enjoyed today's show. You want to stick it to Rolly, we'd appreciate it. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.